Oh, hello world, it's your friendly neighborhood data miner, and today we're going to talk about how to be a teacher, the science of education. Our guest today is Jethro Jones. Jethro is a management of education consultant, public speaker, and podcaster. He is a former school principal who now helps empower the leaders of teachers today. He has created numerous podcasts interviewing hundreds of experts on this topic. I am highly confident at the end of this period of instruction, you will be able to take what you've learned and apply it to your brand or business, and that's called value. And because of that, you should like this video. Remember that sharing is caring, subscribing is what winners do, but smashing the bell is what legends do. This channel breeds legends. But first, AI news. Google has created a new transformer large language model named Gemini. It can do more than just manage language. It's a multimodal, meaning it can take different sorts of input such as text, image, and audio and encode it to make inference better than a human can on numerous levels. It beats all the current language models in terms of scoring by third-party agencies. It can create graphs as well. You can give it hundreds of pages and it will instantly parse through all of them and update the graphs. It can do it in 57 languages.
Check.
Yep, and we're alive.
Okay.
We're good. So, hello world. We have Jethro Jones. Jethro, tell the world about you.
Well, I graduated from high school here in Spokane and then went away for 20 years and then came back. So when I was 16, I was making a lot of really dumb choices, going down some bad paths that were not going to lead me to success. And my sister was like, "Hey, how's this working out for you?" I said, "Well, it's not very good. Not super happy, not enjoying things." She said, "Why don't you move up to Spokane with me? And if you make good grades, then life will be good." And I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." And she asked me if I wanted to change. And I said, "Well, I don't know. I think I do, but I don't feel like I can here." And I was living in Sacramento at the time. And she was like, "Well, try it in Spokane." So I did, and totally turned my life around, got connected to God, and really changed my trajectory. And I went into education. And if my teachers that I had in Sacramento knew that I went into education, they'd be like, "That's crazy. There's no way." They're probably rolling over in their graves right now just thinking about that.
Yeah.
So that's a little backstory. So now what I do is I coach school principals and I help schools do education better for their kids. And then I also do a bunch of podcasts, and I'm a big nerd in that regard. So I have a podcast network with like 30 shows on it called the B Podcast Network. The main show, Transformative Principal, is mine that I've been doing for 10 years. And I interview school leaders and other people about how to improve education.
Cool.
So we could go in any direction you want. There's a lot that I could talk about.
Well, you know what? I've had a few people on that that liaise with educators. And the last one, I asked him, as a point of national security, how do we not raise a society of pussies?
Boy, that's a great question. And what I think is really necessary is that we have to teach people how to have their own value systems and then live in alignment with their values. And that is not what education is designed to do. Education is designed for compliance and taking orders. That's how our system is currently set up. And so we need to start there and have people define their values and then live according to them. And if we can do that, then I think we can do all kinds of things. But if you don't have values and you're just there to obey and follow rules and follow directives, then you're gonna have struggles, and you're not gonna be strong and able to stand up and go against things that are bad for your society.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't have people, we live in this society where mediocrity and conflict avoidance, it's a standard, it's rewarded. We have these kids going into these box-shaped institutions, and they think in a box, and everything's trained to a box, and they're just trained like Pavlovian dogs to a bell, and they're just trying to create slaves.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it doesn't really, it's not conducive to people having free will and choices and things like that. And, you know, one of the most disappointing things that I see in education is kids asking questions like, what do I need to do to get an A? What does, how do I be perfect in this? And it's just really disappointing because it doesn't have to be that way. And they can, so I have this belief about what learning looks like. And in education, we teach that learning is this first, then this, then this, then this, and you just go down the row, you know. So let's take math, for example. You start with a simple addition, then you add subtraction, then you do multiplication, and then division. But the reality is that sometimes you need multiplication before you're quote unquote ready for it. And so a good story to illustrate this was during the pandemic. We moved down here to Spokane. We did homeschool that first year, and my daughter wanted to know how to do multiplication. And she was in like, what was it, second grade, third grade, something like that? No, probably second grade. And she was like, how do I do this? What does this look like? And I said, well, here's a multiplication chart, 12 by 12 grid. This will teach you. You follow this, and that's how you learn multiplication. So go memorize that, like what we do in school, right? And she said, Dad, this just isn't working. She came back a couple minutes later. She's like, this just isn't working. I'm trying to figure out what 13 times 15 is, and it's not on here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so I totally screwed up. I was trying to solve a problem that wasn't what her problem was. She wanted to know what 13 times 15 was for something that she was doing. And I tried to teach her multiplication in the way that, you know, start out with this easy thing. So people think that learning is this simple progression. The reality is that learning is intertwined with everything. It goes all over the place. It's all unique and personalized to that individual. And what she experiences versus what someone else experiences is totally unique for each person. And it's not something that is the same for everybody. Even when we try to make it the same, everybody still learns in their own way. If you're sick or you're not mentally there the day that they teach this specific skill, then you're not going to receive it in the same way that everybody else is. So I don't have like the scientific data to say this is what happens, but anybody who has been in a school setting and observed multiple kids being taught something at the same time knows that each one of them receives it uniquely in their own way, despite whatever the teacher is trying to do. No matter how hard she's trying to make it so that everybody does it exactly the same way, they all get it their own way and they all understand it uniquely and individually. Granted, many of them are going to understand it in a very similar way, but depending on their life experiences and what they've been through, they're going to have their own unique perspective on it.
Yeah. So where do you see the future of education going?
Yeah, I really see the future of education being hyper-localized and focused on really specific needs that individuals have. And this is going to start with people who are well off and can afford the unique approaches. But eventually it'll go to just about everybody. And I believe that our public education system is really going to be focused on educating the disabled and the very, very poor. And that's pretty much what their focus is going to be. And you can already see evidence of that starting to happen. And, you know, with a lot of stuff around vouchers and charter schools, we don't have many charter schools here in Washington, but we do have some. And I think that things are just going to move more in that direction because it's going to be hard to stem that from happening, as people want more individualized approaches for them. And then you bring in artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of companies thinking that we can create individual tutors for kids. And I personally don't think that that's really the right approach, because you're still trying to tutor them to these specific standards. But having an AI companion that knows you, knows your history, and can help explain things in a better way and be an assistant who helps you figure things out and do things, I think there's a lot of potential for that to be a real thing in the not too distant future.
Yeah. So how do we encourage kids to engage with technology in a more productive manner?
Yeah, that is tough, because it's really easy when you're seeking after the dopamine hit of getting a prize in a game or any of that kind of stuff. Those are hard things to combat. And the thing that's so amazing is that you get a very similar hit of dopamine from learning something new and doing something difficult and accomplishing it. And so I think the real key is helping kids figure out how to use tools to help them do things that actually matter. The biggest problem in school is really that it's all made up. Grades are made up, assignments are made up, and it's just somebody just said, hey, this is what needs to happen, and this is when kids need to learn these things, and that's just what we've gone with. And so there's no reason why algebra needs to come before geometry and then algebra 2 comes later. It doesn't have to be that way. You could learn geometry earlier, even if you don't understand all the algebraic principles.
Geometry is more intuitive.
Right. And so you could learn those skills much earlier if there was a reason to. And that's one of the real challenges, is that because everything is so made up and so artificial, and we're trying so hard to teach specific standards, we're missing a great opportunity to have kids do things that actually matter, that have a real impact, that they would actually care about. And therefore we miss all these opportunities for learning that could happen, that we're not setting them up for success. So let me give a quick example. One of my schools, we had kids work on a project of their choosing, and they could choose anything that they wanted to. The criteria was that they had to make the world a better place, and they could define world to be the whole world, or their small community, or this very small subset of their community, or their classroom, or whatever. They could choose anything. And then we said, make that better, and they could define what better looked like. And by giving them such a broad perspective, we really said you could do pretty much anything that you're interested in. And it'd be very hard for you to do something that we would say no to, because we're making it so broad. So we allowed kids to choose all these different projects, and kids chose all kinds of crazy things. One group wanted to make vinyl stickers and sell them. Okay, so that's cool. Another group wanted to teach younger kids at an elementary school how to do volleyball, cheer, and soccer. And they wanted to focus on just the girls at that elementary school. Another group wanted to make edible Play-Doh, which I thought was disgusting and a terrible idea. And then a couple months later, Play-Doh itself actually came out with an edible Play-Doh product, which just blew my mind. And I couldn't believe that they were creating that, because I think that's gross. You play with it with your nasty hands and then you eat it. Yuck. So anyway, those were just 3 of the 50 ideas that kids had.
Well, this damn thing keeps turning off after about 5 minutes. Well, we've had it going for 12. It's all right.
All right.
We'll just go back to audio now.
Okay.
So it's all good. So talk more about, I see school as a socialization process. Do you see school as a socialization process?
I mean, yes, that exists, but it's doing the wrong kind of socialization, if you ask me. And that's what the real challenge is that it's doing something that isn't really beneficial necessarily. I mean, there's some benefit to it, but it's not like it's exactly what we all really need, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of the socialization is teaching you how to be compliant and follow orders and be a good rule follower and listener, when we need people to be more creative. We need people to be independent thinkers, problem solvers, people who see an injustice and want to work to make it better. And that's not how our schools are socializing kids. So yeah, it socializes them, but it doesn't necessarily socialize them in the way that probably each of us individually wants them to be socialized.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that. And I've also noticed, well, being in the Marine Corps, I've seen a lot of people in bulk, especially when I was a combat instructor. And you'd see all the different students coming in every cycle. So all over the nation. They're either going to the East Coast or the West Coast for boot camp and the School of Infantry. And so after boot camp, they met me, their combat instructor, at the School of Infantry West. And I would notice many different trends amongst all these thousands of students that would come in every year. And because I'd ask them things like in bulk, like, who here has your driver's license? Mm-hmm. That number kept going down.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Number of kids with driver's license kept going down. I'm like, those are things I think about. I think about where is the future of education gonna go? Maybe more online, maybe not. I also noticed that I'm not gonna rip on people that homeschool. However, I've noticed that people who have homeschooled exclusively or at some critical point did not get the socialization skills that a lot of other people have. Like, you can just tell there's just something kind of off about them. Like they're too happy.
They're too happy. What a hilarious thing.
Yeah.
So I was principal of a homeschool program in Alaska, which meant that we had homeschool students that still worked with the school to do their programs. And what was really fascinating about that is that a lot of people said that there were socialization issues. But then when I looked at them as a group, what I saw was more mature students, happier students, and students who could deal with instability, who could deal with things not being in a certain order much better than regular education students that were in my other schools. And this, like, when you slice one homeschool student out and you're like, okay, that kid's weird, then you're missing the bigger picture, which is that when I looked at all of the students in that homeschool program, I saw overall higher levels of internal fortitude, like being able to overcome difficult things, being able to make plans, being able to be adaptable and flexible. And again, I don't have like specific data on those things, but I do have the experience of seeing them and seeing how these kids were able to overcome challenging situations that kids in my regular schools wouldn't have known what to do and would have just given up. And that's a really fascinating piece, because they may come across as a little bit weird. But like you said, they did seem happier. They did seem like they had more purpose in their life. They had more focus on where they were going and what they wanted. They had more clarity around how they were spending their time and what was valuable and what wasn't valuable. And so I think that socialization piece is just I don't know, like a rumor or a stereotype that isn't necessarily real, because I certainly didn't see that when when I looked at these group of students as a whole. And there were kids in regular school too. So,
Yeah, well, I could see how regular school would be more defeating because you have so much comparison to hold yourself against that it would seem like, oh, well, the people that are already good in that are good in that. I'll go find what I'm good in and double down on that strength instead of pursuing their weaknesses, as opposed to like a homeschool student who's forced to find their own answers. They don't have a student body that they could just turn next to. Like, do you have the notes?
Yeah.
Do you have, did you do the assignment? Because I didn't. The homeschool student is not afforded that. So they have to seek out different and novel methods of solving a problem. And in doing that, it does create that dopamine hit where they have that confidence that I did something myself and I learned it. And I really didn't feel that homeschool feel until I did my master's degree. That was all online.
Yeah.
And that seemed like really difficult. But when I got through that struggle, I'm very self-sufficient in solving my own problems, mostly because ChatGPT.
Yeah. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So what's so fascinating is I've heard that from so many people that they didn't really understand how they learned until they worked on their master's, which is really the first time that in most educational institutions, you're able to be more in control. So I'm in a doctoral program right now, and it's so fascinating to hear my colleagues who are educators, and most of them are in schools right now, say things like, I didn't get guidance on what this assignment was supposed to look like, so I don't know how to do it. And it's like, no, you're in a doctoral program. You're the expert. You do the thing how it needs to be done, and don't worry about meeting the professor's expectations. Because if that's what you're still focused on, you're missing the point. You should be the expert now. Even as you're learning, you're defining what that looks like. So for example, instead of just turning in a paper, I published all of my assignments to a blog or to my podcast. And that was how I turned things in. So in the student information or the learning management system, when it would say, here, turn in your thing, there was an option to upload a document or to type it right in there or to put in a link. And so because there was a link, I just put in a link and said, here it is. And that's because this is my education. It's not theirs. And one of the worst things we do to students, K through whatever grade they go on to, even including college, is we make the audience the teacher. And that does nobody any good because the audience of the teacher means nothing. It's a hoop to jump through. No matter how you try to make it more real, the audience is still that person. Things totally change when you say the audience is anybody out in the world who can see it. Anybody who can listen to this podcast is our audience. That's who we're talking to. So I'm talking to you right now and you're really my audience, but really I know this is going to go out somewhere else. And so
hopefully,
yes. And so I want other people to be able to connect with what I'm saying and make it real for them. If you and I are just having this conversation, me and you, and nobody else is ever going to hear it, then our conversation is going to change. So I learned this when my first year teaching. There were some old EMAC computers that were getting thrown out. And I said, can I have those in my classroom? And there were like 4 or 5 of them. And they said, well, we're going to throw them out, but sure. So all I needed was a connection to the internet and a word processor type place for kids to write drafts. And I told my students they were going to start blogging. My principal didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what was going on. But I said, anything you write, I don't want you to write it for me. I want you to write it for somebody else, anybody else. It doesn't matter who you write it for, but it's not for me. I'm going to read it and I'm going to give you grades on it, but I want you to focus on writing for someone else. I was a language arts teacher. And so I did that my first year teaching, and my students' writing was so much better than before the couple weeks before I got those computers, when they were just turning stuff into me. It was boring. It was prosaic. It was worthless stuff that they were writing to me. Once they had a different audience, they changed how they were writing because they knew somebody else was going to read it. So these kids, 7th and 9th graders, were publishing online and being able to express themselves in a way that they never had before and have actual people read it. Now, how many people read it? Honestly, I don't know. The analytics weren't great. I couldn't really tell, but the kids knew that other people were reading it. They were reading each other's stuff, and their writing was significantly improved because they had a real audience, and that really matters to everybody. It's much better than just writing to your teacher.
That's a really good exercise. Bravo for making them blog.
Yeah.
That is a good incorporation of modern day writing and the power of writing and writing to your audience. And that's something I critique so much because I'm wading through the world of blogs to try to find information. And one thing I hate is a long intro that's like the backstory of this and that and the other. I'm like, I already know the backstory. I already know that. I just get to the point where I want, like, what is it I want? Like the answer to the question, like if they, and this is something I talk about too, because I'm a blogger and I make my blogs the same way I make my videos. I put the question as the title. So whoever the audience is the person who's meeting search intent for that. And then what I'm finding is what a lot of people say, and another thing that I learned in intelligence school when I went to intelligence school and they taught me how to write intelligence papers, which is bottom line up front.
Yeah.
If you have what is the maximum effective length of or what's the maximum range of a rifle of M16A2? The maximum effective, bottom line up front, max effective length of a rifle is 550 meters for the range, right? You know,
and our education system disincentivizes that because we have lengths of papers to meet. Write a 5-page essay on this, write a 10-page essay on this. And so you end up filling it with fluff, which is now incredibly ironic as AI comes in, because AI has been trained on all this fluffy stuff and all throughout the internet. And when you see something written by AI, you can tell that it's written by AI because it doesn't get to the point. The verbosity of these AI models is so crazy because it says what could be said in 10 words in 200 words. And it's so explosive in how much text it's creating when that is not necessary. What we really need to do is be focused and clear in what we're trying to articulate instead of going on for hours and hours and hours about something that doesn't need that much explanation.
Yeah, writing is like a martial art because it's the way you are going to live into perpetuity with your idea. And I think George Orwell, I love his writing because you read the book 1984, but he teaches you how to write. Double plus good.
Yep.
Short. If you can, and he's got these rules for writing. If you can cut it out, cut it out. Less is more.
Yeah. And one of the authors that I really like right now is Lee Child, who wrote the Jack Reacher stories. And what I like about his style, as I'm rereading one of the books right now, is how he is so succinct and yet descriptive at the same time. And he leaves it up to the reader to fill in a lot of gaps. And so, for example, the passage I was reading last night was he was describing a house that someone lived in using 3 to 4 word sentences that were comparisons and opposites, saying like small but not cramped, and short grass or a short sidewalk, wide walkways or something. I don't remember exactly, but you get the idea. He was using a specific writing strategy to communicate what needed to be said and give you the feeling that you were there, taking in this view and mentally processing quickly what you're seeing so that you can understand the kind of situation that you're walking into. And it was just a masterful job of showing how to be succinct without leaving anything out. And in fact, the brevity made it more illustrative in the person's mind as they're reading it.
That's a good point. That reminds me of this author I was reading. It was a short story. It was called Greasy Lake. Anyway, this author, I think his name was Jim Boyd or whatever. He was so good at what, like the story was about two boys going out joyriding in a car and they get in a fight. Mm-hmm. You read it and they're running through the swamp, running from people who are trying to beat their ass. And you read it on its face, and that's what it says. That's what it seemed to every person in the class. But to myself and other veterans, we read it and we're like, oh shit, this is all about Vietnam.
Wow. Because
everything, the way he used it and the way he created a scene with selective words. Mm-hmm. Like rolling hills and valleys and things. And like you could see this scene and then you're like, okay, it was written in this time. This is, oh my gosh, this is all about Vietnam.
Fascinating.
Like, yeah, he was such an amazing author. It was almost like one of those things, like if people read a book like The Catcher in the Rye and all of a sudden they're like, kill Ronald Reagan or whatever. Right? It was kind of like one of those moments where it's like, oh shit, I see what he's saying. Totally coded. Mm-hmm. Through plain words.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. That's good art.
Yes, it is. And it is art. And and to bring it back to teaching, I believe that is what great teachers can do. And in our current system, they're handicapped from doing that. And they can't pursue those kinds of things because it's all about standards and achievement and test scores.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And now you got all the political shit too. And I don't even know how much of that you want to get into because you have to liaise with these people. But I mean, I've had guests on the podcast say, what's the point of having your kids go to school? You know, when they tell them, when they're just trying to weaponize the kids against the parents, they try to, I mean, I've had my kids come up to me with this, and Common Core is a bunch of bullshit. And I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. At what point is oversimplifying math any way to go about solving a math problem? So when my kids come to me, I literally cannot help them with the math problem. Mm-hmm. That is driving a wedge between the students and the parents, and on something as simple as math.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
So there is wisdom in how we're doing it, but I think nobody understands this wisdom. So think about it like this. If you use a calculator, but you have no number sense and you don't know what the numbers mean, you can punch stuff into the calculator and get a result and you don't know if it's right or not, right? So let's take 12 times 12. You punch it in and you hit the wrong button and you do plus instead, and it says 24. You just take whatever that answer is because you don't understand that there's no way 12 times 12 could be 24. Because you have to visualize 12 containers of 12 things in them. There would definitely be more than 24 there. And you can get that because you have number sense. The way that they're teaching math now is designed to focus more on the number sense than on the formulas of how to solve things so that you actually understand, which is actually beneficial and worthwhile to do. The problem is that I don't think our teachers understood that when they started teaching in this way, and they thought this was just the way that we need to teach. And second, they certainly did not do a good job of explaining why they're doing that. So the focus now is much more on, do you understand how this works rather than just plugging in a formula? I believe there's benefit to that, but we rolled it out poorly, and everybody's just trying to, follow the rules, and so they're just doing what they're told, which again is not a healthy way for us to manage our whole lives. So there is some wisdom in it, but when it's not rolled out appropriately and it's not implemented in a way that people can make sense of it and understand it, then you get frustration like what you're experiencing, which is very real and which is completely understandable. And the worst part is it's completely avoidable, and it doesn't have to be that way. But there are people all over the country who have said the exact same thing as you, and for good reason, because we did such a terrible job of explaining why and how we were doing what we were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've thought about some really good YouTube videos that I've watched. There's this one channel, it's called, I think it's like 3 Blue, 1 Brown. But this guy is really good at just animating all those mathematical concepts in ways that I never thought were good, that I can understand, like calculus. He totally took it and put it in a way that I could understand. And so it made me think, what is the requirements to be a teacher in Washington State?
I think bachelor's degree in passing a praxis test. I think I'm licensed as a principal in Washington State, but I haven't been employed as a principal in Washington State. So honestly, I don't know that much about it.
Okay. So then explain that, the licensing, like with principals then. How does that work? How's that regulated?
So basically the State Office of Education, OSPI, Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction is what it's called here, has to say this person is certified to hold this license to do this specific job. So there's a teacher license, superintendent license, principal license, and then there's probably some other more specialized ones for like a HR director or something like that. Those probably exist. I don't really know. But typically, if you have a principal license, you could do most of those jobs. If you have a superintendent license, then you can have the superintendent position. And basically, it's a way for the government, the state government that's in charge of education, to say this person is qualified to teach students or lead schools or whatever the case may be. And so that exists as a way to make sure that we have people that we can say with some semblance of confidence that they are going to be good for kids. And oftentimes that works out really well and it's totally fine. There are situations where that gets in the way of having great people be in front of our kids because they haven't taken enough credits to get a bachelor's degree, for example. And so they can't be a teacher. And each state does their licensing a little bit different. And one of the important parts of that is that we truly keep kids safe and don't put predators or people who will abuse them in front of them. And that we definitely want to encourage. We don't want kids to be in front of people who are going to harm them in any way. And so that, to me, that's the main reason for licensing and states to regulate who can be in front of kids.
Yeah. So is it the same regulation with the private school?
No, typically private schools can have more lenient licensing requirements.
Is there even licensing requirements?
So from what I understand, each private school can determine what is considered qualified in front of their kids. And so it's unregulated.
Yes.
Okay. And so what they do is they adopt the state licensing requirements in some situations. I believe that in order to receive specific state or federal funding, which they can get, they have to have a certain percentage of teachers who are licensed. And most teachers in private schools are licensed, and it's pretty rare that they're not, just because
there's a supply of them.
Yeah, there's a supply of teachers, and it's not honestly that hard to be licensed. And so you might as well be.
Okay. Yeah, think so. I thought about it as you were talking. I'm like, okay, is there a way you could totally bypass the government way? And you could. In fact, I've worked with people who have never had a high school, who've never graduated high school, and I'm working alongside of them at whatever job I was at, and I tell them, they're like, yeah, you need to go get my GED. You need to get my GED. I'm like, look, dude, nothing's stopping you from enrolling in the community college. Mm-hmm. You can go get an associate's, and that trumps your GED. So you should start that.
Yeah.
And I think about college. I'm like, that's totally private. Mm-hmm. Like even the ones that even Gonzaga, there are some straight fucking charlatan professors that I've came across at that, because I used to be a student there. But yeah, and so the vetting of the education, and as I'm just thinking out loud, and so I'm thinking, okay, where you went to school is probably more an important thing, but then again, I think, man, some of the classes I've took at the community college, I've learned so much more from those community college professors than I ever learned at a private university.
Yeah, at the expensive, prestigious university. So the real thing about college is that it's not about the courses; it's about the people that you meet and connect with.
Yeah, I learned that afterward.
Yeah.
After I didn't connect.
Yeah. So that is what is the important thing about college especially, but also about high school. And if you look at the connections that people have based on where they went to school and the kinds of things that they're involved in, like we're getting a new mayor in Spokane. She's creating a transition team. I don't know who's on her transition team, but everybody who's on her transition team is on that transition team because they are connected in some way to her. There is nobody, I'm guaranteeing it, nobody who is on that team who is not connected to her in some way. She's not going to choose anybody that she doesn't already have some sort of relationship with. And so you can be cynical and say that's like, it's inside baseball and, people doing favors and donors and things like that. But the other part of it is that this is a big deal. You're going to be the mayor of a city, and you need to choose people to help you become that mayor. And you need to choose people that you can trust and want to do things with. And so much of what happens is about the connections that we have, not so much about how smart we actually are. So, for example, I would be a great person, in my opinion, to be part of whatever education aspect of her agenda is out there, because I know a lot of people and I'm well connected, but I'm not connected to her. And so why in the world would she ever ask me? She wouldn't. It doesn't make any sense.
You're not even relevant or on her radar to think about a suggestion.
Exactly.
She doesn't know you exist.
Exactly. And so she's choosing the best she can from what she has available. And because of her connections, where she went to school, where she worked, who she associated with, she's now able to choose this transition team from those people that are within her network already. And so when you think about going to college, that's really what you should be thinking about. What kind of a network am I going to get from going here? That's the real value of going to somewhere like Harvard or Princeton or Stanford, is the people that you're going to associate with there that you can then do things with later in life. And if you didn't go to one of those schools, then you're going to associate with people that you did go to school with, and you may not have these lifelong relationships with them, but just going to the same school allows you to connect a little bit more with them than otherwise.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, me neither.
Until afterward, and I'm like, well, And it makes me think about like, what the hell is the value of a fucking college degree? I thought about that. That's something I've struggled with. I'm really happy that the GI Bill paid for all of mine, so I don't have that. I would have really felt fucking cheated if I worked hard and saved money or went into student loan debt to try to get to learn the shit that I've learned. But then again, like, my degree now at the master's level, I think I didn't understand the value of it until I started going around to other people that were in the industry, and I realized how little they knew. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, this is the value of my degree. But cool. So talk about, and I'm not done with education either. I would like to go and get a PhD someday, but I don't know.
To what end?
Yeah, what end?
What's your purpose?
Just to put at the end of my just to write my name, Michael Segolini, PhD.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
And I would sign my name like that every single day, and I would say, "Excuse me, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
I did not go through 12 years of school to not be called doctor."
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be me.
Yeah. Mine is so that I can get have the ringtone on my phone that is Short Round in Indiana Jones saying, "You call him Dr. Jones,
Oh,
doll."
Dr. Jones, yes. Oh, dude, that kid was played in the new. It's because I could recognize him. I was like, oh, he was the kid who was Shorty or whatever.
Short Round, yeah.
Yeah, off of that movie from Indiana Jones, because he played a side role in the new Doctor Who movie or one of those.
Okay.
One of those new Disney movies. I was like, that motherfucker, I know.
I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So to what end? So talk about your PhD program now. What are you doing? What is it you're trying to? Is it just the network, or what are you studying? What are you passionate about?
So this is in character education and servant leadership. So
okay.
I coach school leaders now, and I believe that the only education that matters is who you become, not what you know. And so that's where character education is interesting to me, because we have all these things that we want to teach kids, but really we want to teach them to become the best version of themselves. That's what I am really passionate about. And so that's what my doctorate is in, is that. And so, like, I've asked myself this many times, why am I getting it? So I'm getting it from the University of Missouri St. Louis, partly because they have the Center for Character or something like that. I don't remember what it's called.
And the Federal Reserve Economic Database, Fred.
There you go.
St. Louis.
Random. I don't know about that, but okay. You obviously do. Yeah. So that's part of it. They believe in character, and they've put resources and effort behind it. Also, there's a professor there named Tom Herr that he is part of this program, and he's written a couple books. I've gotten to know him. I've had him on my podcast a couple times, and I just really like the things that he believes in and espouses and the way he treats people. And so I want more opportunities to interact with him. And then I've met the other professors there, and they're all pretty cool in that regard as well. And so when I talk to other people from the Missouri area, and they have a high regard for this program at University of Missouri St. Louis, and think that it's beneficial, and that's not a cookie cutter type of program that I'll be able to network and have some sense of prestige. It's not like Harvard or anything, but the other thing is that it's all online, and
Hard
so
to network online.
Well, that's the interesting thing is that I have actually figured out how to network really well online, and so
good. You should teach me.
Yeah, it's it's not that hard. We can talk about that if you want. And you already are doing good work to move in that direction, because my network really has come from my podcast, that I find interesting people to talk to, and they say yes because I have a podcast and it can serve them. But then I have an opportunity to talk with them and do cool things with them as well. So that is a really big deal for me personally, because I was in Alaska for 6 years as a principal, and I was far away from everybody, and it was very difficult to network outside of Alaska, except for my podcast. It made me able to talk with people all over the world, experts in their field, to help me learn how to be better, following my own path, and it was incredibly powerful. So those are some of the reasons why I'm doing this doctorate. I've always wanted to get a doctorate, and so it's not like I just decided one day to finally do it, or to do it, period. I decided to finally get it done now, because it felt like everything was lining up to be convenient and effective for me. Furthermore, like, when I was a principal, I would get a pay raise if I got a doctorate. That's not happening, because I'm an independent consultant now. So the other part of this is, how do I use this to refine my skills and improve them so that I can make more money in the future doing what I'm doing right now and improving it by having this doctor on the front of my name.
That's cool. Well, that was it. An unevaluated life is one not worth living.
That's right.
And Benjamin Franklin said the investment that pays the most interest is the one you invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So talk about your time as a principal in Alaska.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So where were you at?
So I was in Kodiak and then in Fairbanks. So Kodiak is an island in the Gulf where the bears are.
That where the dude got eaten.
Yep. And there, it was just great. I mean, you're in this little tiny community.
Did they talk about that? About how the idiot who filmed his own death?
No.
Yeah.
In fact, I haven't even heard that story.
You haven't? Oh, it's brutal.
No. When did it happen?
Dude, Kodiak, man?
Yeah.
Dude, this shit happened in the 80s. This is legit.
Oh, see?
Dude, this idiot, man, I'll have to look it up. This idiot freaking was like obsessed with the Kodiak bears. And he was just obsessed with the bears, and he lived with them, with him and his girlfriend and shit, and his girlfriend was like, I'm gone. And they did a whole documentary on him. And he filmed the bear, like there's pictures of the bear coming at him, and then his camera got knocked over, but the whole audio of him getting devoured by this grizzly is horrifying.
That's awful.
Yeah, Kodiak, man. You should totally look that up,
Okay.
dude. It's crazy. Right. Anyway, carry on.
They don't talk about that. They do talk about not being stupid and staying away from bears. And there were, when we lived there, a couple of home invasions from bears. We had bears get into our trash can right outside of our house, and that was kind of crazy. A couple times my kids couldn't walk to school because there was a bear out. In fact, one day I walked to school and there was a bear like 100 yards away from me, and I had no idea. I didn't know. And then finally later my wife was like, did you see a bear on the way to work today? I was like, no, I didn't. She said, well, the state troopers are out. They're like blocking off the roads and making sure everybody knows don't walk to school today because there's a bear on the path to school. And those were real things that really happened. And we were like living in a city. It's not like we were out in the boonies or anything, but it was rural. Our school had like 600 kids, and there were like 13,000 people in the city we lived in Kodiak. But it was a lot of fun because no matter where you go, people are people. And so there's good people, there's bad people, there's cool people, there's annoying people. But what I really liked about Alaska the most was that everybody had each other's back. Like if you needed a place to stay, strangers would say, you can come stay at my house. if you needed a car or a ride, strangers would say, we'll help you out. And that is the ethos of Alaska, that people are there supportive of each other. And, I think they just know, like, if you're out on your own, you got a good chance of dying. And so they look out for each other. And there's no expectation of anything in return. Like, you don't have to pay me. You don't have to pay me back or anything like that. It's just, we take care of people. And I think that was a really powerful thing that I learned while I was up there.
Damn.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So how far was your drive to school?
Just a mile. I mean, okay. We got a house that was within a mile of the school. It was a small community, so it wasn't huge. And so, when I was a principal in Utah, my commute was like 45 minutes each way. And then in Alaska, it was always a mile. We just lived close to the schools that I was a principal at, and it was really nice to be able to walk there most days, and sometimes ride my bike. When I lived in Fairbanks, I rode my bike a lot, had a fat tire bike, and would ride to work in negative 30 degree, negative 40 degree in the snow. Yep. It was pretty cool. A lot of fun.
Damn.
Yeah. Unique experience for sure. So glad I did it. The way that we actually went up there, this is the crazy part, is my wife's parents went on a cruise to Alaska and just gushed about how beautiful it was. And so my wife was like, hey, we should go on a cruise to Alaska. And I was like, yeah, we could do that. Or I'm a principal. People live there. I could just go get a job in Alaska. And she's like, that's funny. I'm going to bed. So she goes to bed, and I stay up and apply for jobs online. And my only requirement was that it needed to be on the water, so that it was basically a cruise stop. And I didn't know anything about Alaska. I didn't do any research. That's not in my nature. I just do things and figure out how to make it work later. And so sure enough, I ended up getting a job in Kodiak. And the crazy thing was, well, there are two crazy parts. Number one, the whole goal was to, be a cruise stop destination. Only one ship comes through Kodiak each year, and because it's so far away from everything else. So there were never cruise ships coming. It was like once a year, cruise ship, and then that was it. And then the second crazy thing was that on Father's Day, I got the job offer and flew up on Father's Day to go check out the city and see if it was someplace I wanted to live. And then came back, and by July 1st, we had our house packed up and we were on the road moving up there. So just 2.5 weeks later, we decided and moved, and took my whole family, 4 kids. They were 2, 4, 6, and 8 at the time. And we camped along the way. And it was a really just a leap first, and then try to figure out all the rest of it later.
Dang. So how old are your kids now?
So the youngest is now 12, and the oldest is 17 and a half.
Dang. That must have been... Did they like it up there? Was it
Yeah, they loved it. They all feel like they're Alaskan, and just had really cool experiences. They all have bad skin on their hands because they wouldn't wear gloves outside, and it was super cold. And so now their hands are always super dry in the winter and damaged and everything. But, that's what happens. You learn.
Well, cool. That must have been a great experience. So how did it work? What were the natives like? Were there natives that you dealt with?
Yeah. So the most fascinating story was actually someone that I ended up coaching, who was a principal out in Buckland, Alaska, which is by Kotzebue up northwest area. And she was a native Alaskan, and she... although she was a school principal and eventually became a superintendent up there, she very much continued living in the Native Alaskan way, subsistence, seal, whale, fish in the summers to last you through the year. And she said something that was so interesting to me that just blew my mind. She said, I'm really worried about my kids because they're totally reliant on jobs and making money. and they don't do the subsistence stuff that we do as a people. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? She said, they're in the cash economy and it scares me to death. And I was like, that is just blowing my mind, because that is completely the opposite of how I have ever thought in my life. And so she lives off of the land in a harsh, difficult climate where you can't really grow much food because your winters are so long and your summers are so short. And yet she's scared for her kids because they're in the cash economy and not doing subsistence. Where I'm the opposite. I'm like, how do you survive if you just do subsistence? And that was just mind blowing to me. But because of that's how they've lived for their whole ancestry, they're very comfortable with it and are okay with not being part of the cash economy. And I just think that was really fascinating. Where I was principal, we didn't have a lot of students and families that were Native Alaskan. We had some, and there was a percentage, but it wasn't huge, and it wasn't the majority, to be sure. It was probably 8 to 10% of my students at a given time. And so they were, enculturated into the main system. The challenging part, in my opinion, was the native ways of knowing were not acknowledged or appreciated within the school system. And so the elders weren't given a lot of respect or authority or power like they were in their communities. And so I didn't have a lot of opportunities to learn that like I wish I would have. I feel like that's a missed opportunity for me, that I should have taken more time to learn about how they do things and how things work and how they've worked for a long time up there.
Yeah. Affluenza.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a mind disease. It affects many Americans. I find myself doing the same thing too when I even like butchering a deer. Mm-hmm. I got a deer this year, so that's good. So it's like butchering the deer, thinking, oh, I wouldn't eat that. Cut that off.
Yeah.
I wouldn't eat that. And I only take the choice cuts of meat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think most Americans wouldn't even want to eat meat unless it's packaged in the styrofoam with the plastic on top.
Mm-hmm.
It's certain things like, how do you purify water? And there's a lot of ways you can purify water. In fact, there's a lot of things you don't think of until you got to do it, like how to tan a hide. So right now I'm tanning the deer hide. It's in the garage tanning. But going through that process, there are so many ways to tan a damn hide.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And each culture has had its own way through time to tan a hide. Seems like tanning the hide's the easy part. The hard part is getting it soft.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can tan a hide. That's not hard.
Yeah.
But people tan hides in bark. Like they would take bark like of a walnut tree, walnut bark, and they'd stick the hide in it for about several months, and it would soak, and because wood has tannin in it.
Mm-hmm.
Simple things like that. So if we were to ever go into some serious setback where we're put into the 1980s and do a cash society, even cash society. So I think about the people in the marijuana stores. So if you talk to them, like the bud tenders, as they call themselves, and ask them, if you ever get a chance, how much are your guys' tills off every night? Because they're a cash only business, and their tills are off by hundreds of dollars every night, over or under. This was a big issue in then going through business school, like learning things. Like, do you know that like in the 1960s, cars would start half of the time?
Yeah.
Off the factory floor, half of the time they'd start. And then that was a cash-based society too. So there was no accounting system short of pen and paper to rectify stuff. And so they're like Walmart their stores are going to be off by thousands of dollars every day. This was a massive accounting thing that was accounted for in a cash society. And now we're moving away from that, where it's hard to purchase anything with cash. There's times where you can go to some place and nobody's taking cash. They only take card.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll let you riff on that. I got to use the bathroom.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that, and turn on the heat. There we go. So I think one of the things that is really powerful in that regard is we have this idea that, like, it's so easy to pay with your phone or with a card, and you don't need to do the things that we used to do, like balance your checkbook, because that's all taken care of by your bank, and you can see your balance. And like, I used to, when I first became an adult, I used to balance my checkbook regularly, and now I just check online to see what I got, and that's the thing that's so fascinating, is you can just check online and see where you're at. And then with blockchain technologies and things like that, there's going to be a record of everything that we've spent, and it's all tied into the blockchain and the history of it. And, you can allegedly go back and trace and see where everything went. But that's something that I don't totally understand yet myself. So,
yeah, blockchain, that's a unique thing. And I've had some people on the podcast, and we've talked about that. I think the future of blockchain is nowhere, because the best cryptocurrency we have is the US dollar. So, yeah, I'm just kind of jumping into that. It's a good one, though.
I don't know much about that, so
I
don't know that I could say anything worthwhile on that point.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. Well, I'll just talk about similarities between blockchain and regular cash. So, blockchain, unlike cash, is a finite thing, and there's only some finite amount out there. You can't print more. So it's kind of like gold is how they keep it. The Fed, so the Federal Reserve, is the one who controls monetary policy, and they control how much money is in circulation. And so the Fed, well, they'll print money, put it in circulation, take it out by buying back T-bills from the bank. So our money is already like blockchain, but unlike blockchain, you can print more of it. Some people like blockchain, like Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy, because he's a blockchain cheerleader, but it's because he says it holds value. Well, that's true. It does hold value. It's a great way for criminals to exchange cash, but I think about the other digital assets that people overlook, and you touched on it, and that has to do with your network and Metcalfe's law and backlinks.
Yeah.
So the backlink world is a whole nother asset class that most people totally overlook, but it's an important one. Yeah.
And like that is something where, explain Metcalfe's law.
Oh, Metcalfe's law? Metcalfe's law is a law that states that your network is your net worth. That's my summarization of it. But what it is your network is, the value of your network is the square of the number of nodes in the network. So if you know 5 people in theory, then your net worth is 25. 5 to the second power. So the more people in your network, the more powerful your network, more nodes, more it increases your content cluster, and the machines see your content cluster is bigger, and they'll promote you in the search engines, because they all literally, they're all search engines / page servers. Google, Facebook, YouTube, all of them are search engines and page servers.
So with that idea, so like, for example, with me, I've got Transformative Principle, this podcast that I've done. Technically, I've got like 700 people in my network just on that piece, and that's it.
That's good. It's good content cluster.
Yeah, so there's a ton of content there, and I don't even know everything that is connecting back to me. I don't even know all the links that I'm connecting to other people, but how does that translate into things that don't have monetary value? Like, what is that? So, like, for example, my YouTube channel, I've got 6,000 subscribers, but hardly anybody watches my videos. And part of that is that my videos are auto-generated from my podcast episodes. And so I have like 12 or 1,300 videos on there, and I put new stuff out multiple times per week, and it's just automatically coming from my podcast host that's creating automatic YouTube videos all the time. And so there's a ton of content, but I'm not getting the views, I'm not getting promoted. What's your thought on that? And what would you suggest I do to increase my view, my reach, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, what you do is you can start by going through every single one and relabeling the title. Like Mr. Beast does. If he knows it's good, he just changes the title and thumbnail. So what I do is I go to Google usually. So like at the end of this podcast, I'll look up like what keywords we talked about are high volume, and then I type those keywords into, well, I look at them in Google Trends and I see and I play around with that, and then I take those keyword combinations and I put them in the Google search bar. Google search bar is then going to populate with people also asked questions. Those are called featured snippets. So I look at the question that I like and I pull that one out, and that's the title.
Okay.
All right.
So let's say you're going to do some keyword research about like education or living in Alaska or whatever we talk about. And that's going to be where you do that. And then there's going to be a featured snippet that's going to say something like how to homeschool your kids.
How to.
And so you find that snippet that you like and you answer that question specifically with your title for this episode.
Yes, that's one of the things. The other thing I do is I upload at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's the only time. I've proven this definitively. Got my master's degree on it, published it, and honestly, this is nothing new in the industry. You look at any of these major, bigger players, they're uploading at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's a lot of science behind that. Because that's the only time YouTube's on. Literally. It's like there's only one time a day we're going to turn on the lights, and we're in the entertainment industry, people. They flip on the lights at 9 p.m. From 9 to 11, the blower is going to be on. The money blower is going to be on. That's when you drop your video. Contrary, most people upload their videos at 8 in the morning. Because their reasoning is, well, one, that's when they get to work.
Right.
And they have no other reasoning other than thinking, well, if I upload it at 8 in the morning, it'll trend throughout the day. Like, okay, what time do you think YouTube turns on? What time do you think it's open? It's a 24-hour period from the time you drop the video. it's going to get the most exposure. But still, it's a maturation process. So your video is not going to gain the most views until 800 days past the time you post it. 800 days. That's when it's going to reach its max. Now, how do you get things to work? So another thing I do is when I upload, I make sure I allow all comments. Mm-hmm. Allow all comments. If you don't do that, that's a thing. There's all these little pitfalls that if you don't hit it right, it's not gonna showcase it. So make sure it's how to. Mm-hmm. Always make sure the categories how to, education, or science and tech. For your case, you could probably use education.
Yeah.
But education, when you type in education, there's got all these other little pitfalls. Mm-hmm. That you're like, is this an institution? Is this that? Is this that? That is gonna probably reduce the chance that it's gonna trend. So I just keep it how to. So upload at 9 p.m.
Do you mean upload at 9 p.m. or set to go live at 9 p.m.? Or does it matter?
I upload at 9 p.m.
Okay. And then you set to go live right away? You don't schedule it out?
Oh, no, I don't care about going. I don't even go live. I don't have a reason to.
I mean, as opposed to setting it to schedule tomorrow at 9 p.m., you just upload at 9 p.m. and have it.
Oh, I'll schedule it.
Okay.
Yeah, if I have plenty of, if I have numerous videos, I'll schedule them because I make a bunch of shorts. So sometimes I'll make a video, for example, like anything, like a hunting video. I'll have one hunting video, and if the hunting video is good, I think about like all the shorts I can make out of it. So I schedule the one video, and everything's the same. And after I schedule the main video, then I upload the shorts, and they're all scheduled day after day after day after day. And YouTube is really good stewards at allowing you to schedule, unlike Instagram or TikTok.
Right.
They aren't good stewards at that.
No.
But yeah, so yeah, I schedule at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I use the title based off of search intent, so at least my title has a chance of, getting met with search intent. And then, of course, I send it through all my link clickers, and then the link clickers hit the like button, leave a comment or leave an emojicon in the comments, and share it. And you should have your kids do that too. So the more people you can get clicking on the link within the hour for the short, or within 24 hours for the video, the higher the chance that you're going to make it work. So each time, think of the algorithm like this too. When you think of it like a lawnmower, when you walk up to a lawnmower, you got to prime it, you got to turn the choke on, you got to hold down the thing, you got to pull it, and it might work. Might not.
Right. For mine, it never does.
Yeah, but for each, so whenever somebody goes through the step of like, emojicon, share, that's the same thing, like prime, choke, prime, choke. And then maybe you might get that one or few people to go, oh, it started up. It's a good episode. Yeah. It's a good one. And then before you know it, it keeps trending.
Yeah.
And
okay, so let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Are you tell me about the link clickers. Tell me how you do that and what that looks like.
Well, it's basically a group text. And so I go out and I look for people who are willing to do those actions at the rate of $10 a month. And I'm always hiring link clickers, but to a point where I'll run out. But it's a tough hustle to run, because I wouldn't say it's a hustle. It's a tough thing to maintain. Mm-hmm. It's nice when they all work and they all do it at the same time, because then it works. But there's times where they aren't clicking the links, and I know that they're lazy, because especially the teenagers that I'm paying.
Yeah.
So there's teenagers that I pay. There's adults that I pay. I got 11 clickers right now. I'm looking for more. Mm-hmm. But
so like how much viewership do you need to have to get attention? That's really the magic question. You know, Mr. Beast, he gets millions right away on pretty much anything he posts, but you and I aren't going to do that, and I probably don't want to do that anyway. So how much is enough? Is 11 enough? Is maybe 50 is better, but maybe 100 isn't appreciably better, but 1,000 is like the next milestone. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, like views?
I mean, like having link clickers. Like if you...
yeah. So
there's got to be a law of diminishing returns at some point, right? Like if...
Yeah, I know. I think about that. Oh, how many link clickers is it not going to matter? I don't know yet. I haven't reached that point.
Yep.
But I'd like to find out. That's why I'd like you and all the other people who go to schools to try to get kids to do that.
Yeah.
To see what happens. Because I'm a data scientist and I'm always doing science experiments with data. And so that's I know it works on the micro level. I can tell you that, as long as it's matching search intent.
Right.
You know? And there's videos too where you're like, that's a garbage video. How did it get in my feed? How is this trending? This is This is stupid. It's because people like me who have asked the question, how do you convince a machine to put your content in front of other people? And the process I told you, that's one of the ways.
Yeah.
Another way that's going to help you is by optimizing your channel into all the different languages of the world. That is worth it. There are some episodes... and it depends on the episode too, like how well I can translate it, like how to have a conversation with people. That's easy to translate, as opposed to, will the VA pay for data analytics certification?
Yeah,
that's hard to translate into other languages, and it's not relevant to most of the other people in the world. But if you take the time per episode to go and get it translated into every language by using Google Translate, just the video descriptions, and do that, you'll see a little bit, but there's a point of diminishing returns on that. And that's kind of like a bullshit game too, to try to keep you on the platform longer.
Right.
So there's some hacks I've learned when it comes to the languages. So a person who's influential is how the algorithm sees an influencer is somebody who can convince people who don't speak the same language to just hit the like button. Can you just agree to like that? Can you agree that the cat is cute or whatever? That's influence. It's not on a local level. How many international... That's another thing you should do. Get foreigners' numbers in your phone contacts. So there's this real shit. It's called Karma. It's added into the system. Google has Karma in the system. So what it all boils down to, at the end of the day, all the YouTube channels, all the views, all that crap, it goes back to one thing: increasing your domain authority. So domain authority, if you have your own website, which you do, your website has its own domain authority. The domain authority is based on backlinks going to it, right? So if you have a backlink from your YouTube channel, let's say you get a video that hits and it's like getting thousands of views. Those thousands of views are like a generator that's creating ranking power. But if it doesn't have a backlink, so if you haven't added the backlink from your channel to your website, Google's not going to see that. No one's going to see that. That ranking power is going nowhere. It's because you have, and so you understand that there's Google ranking power in that domain authority, but Google owns YouTube.
Right.
All right. So,
here's one of the things that I've been struggling with is I am creating for a very specific audience. It does me no good to have someone who's not interested in education pay attention to my stuff because I'm not speaking their language, right? And so So the challenge that I find is my stuff is really good if you're an educator. And some of my stuff is really good no matter who you are. And that's the kind of stuff that I would love to get out there in front of more people. But I've worked to build this relationship with my audience where they know who I am, know what I believe, and are interested in what I have to say and offer them, and who I interview and bring on my show. And so what's great is those who know me really like what I do and come back for more. And there have been many people that I've talked to have said, I've been listening to your show for years. I love what you're doing. It's great. Keep it going. It's wonderful. But the challenge is discoverability. How do I get people who are like that principal but aren't seeing my stuff yet to be able to see it? And I believe that for me is my next level of growth. Like, I've got a really good, solid base of people who listen, and they don't share it as often as I would like them to, because I'd love for them to share it more often. And so, like, I have probably 100 people, I'm guessing, that if I said, hey, would you like to be part of this link clicker group, they would be willing to do it just because they like what I'm doing. And so that's why I'm asking these questions, is because I think people want to do it and don't know what they need to do. And if I told them this is what you need to do, I think people would be more likely to do it, especially if I could directly reach out to them and say, here's a new video or a new podcast or a new whatever. Here's what I want you to do. And I think people would do it because they like what I'm creating and want other people to hear it. So I'm doing a little experiment on one of my podcasts called Morning Motivation for Educators, where at the end of every episode, I say, if there was something powerful in this, choose your friend that you want to send it to and send the link to them so that they can listen to it too. And what I really want is for one person to hear that daily episode and say, this is who I should send this to today, and be thinking, who can I share this with every single day? And that's what I'm hoping that people hearing it will say, this is who I'm going to send it to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How do you get your users to engage? How do you get the audience to engage on your calls to action?
Right. And there's
That's
like
tough.
10 other calls to action that I have. Like, work with me. I can coach you. I can help you be a better principal. I can help you learn how to do this job in a way that is really powerful and amazing, because I know how to do it, and I can help you with that. But people aren't taking that call to action. So do I want to get people to subscribe? Do I want to get people to get on my email list? Do I want to get people to share my content? Do I want to get people to hire me for coaching or speaking? Do I want to get people to do any number of other things, buy this product that I have, or what? There's so many different things I could ask them to do. And how do I decide what is the thing that's going to move the needle? That's the thing that I don't understand yet.
Strike when the iron's hot. So you got to get those calls to action right after you gave them what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So like Mr. B says, for example, if I say, I have a $10,000 watch, I'm going to show you that $10,000 watch within 5 seconds. That's your value proposition. You've already given them a value proposition. Because I showed you that $10,000 watch. I want you to like, subscribe, and smash that freaking bell for more updates.
Yeah.
And then you give them that. So a lot of the audience, it's hard to get someone to move digitally and give you that digital currency, because it's all digital currency. A like is a penny, a comment's a something, $1 is a fucking share. Right. So you could explain that. Look, I work for digital currency. But either way, you got to get those calls to action. If you don't tell them the calls to action right up front, one, there's no guarantee they're even going to listen to the thing to the end to hear the call to action. So got to give them the calls to action right up front, and just be honest and be more creative in the way that you ask for it. Like, what would you want to hear? Like what there has been guys that I've other on their channels where, and that's something I struggle with too. It's like, how do I get more subs? I find I get more subs when I just do shorts. Mm-hmm. Just creating that's like a lot of fun. Because titling though, if you're to just title and upload at 9, use the how-tos, those 3 things are going to increase your views. Try that for 3 months straight.
Okay.
And watch what happens. Upload at 9 p.m. Schedule it for 9. Add the title from the featured snippets. Literally copy and paste. Mm-hmm. And Google rewards you for that. Google will reward you with engagement. You can make a living off of answering stupid questions all day. Mm-hmm. In fact, they do that.
Yeah.
So if you understand the space on how it's working, Google owns YouTube. When you go to YouTube, contingent you're using Google Chrome, and you go to Google and you type in something, the first thing that's going to populate is going to be the video answer. The long form, but the thing that will beat the long form video answer is the short form video answer. Mm-hmm. People want the short form video answer. There are a lot of questions out there that are unanswered with videos. Mm-hmm. And you can tell by typing them in, you'll see that they aren't answered. So when this podcast is over with, I'm going to find one that's not answered with a video. Mm-hmm. And by the time it's in, and by the time Google updates it, but if somebody goes and types in, what is the purpose of education or whatever the fuck, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to populate, or hopefully populate, with that video. And I look for those, like, are people in that competitive space? You know, I mean, some topics are tough, like how to tie a tie. Good luck.
Yeah, no kidding.
That is the most researched one, is how to tie a tie. So, but yeah, if you do that, answer the video questions with the featured snippets, you will start to populate and be found organically through Google search. And that's going to be adding to your subscriber base too. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just try that out. Yeah. People don't believe me until I start doing it. I'm like, I don't have many subs, but I get thousands of views because I do these simple tactics. Mm-hmm. Same with all the channels on my network. They don't have many subs, but they get a lot of views. Danny got over 100,000 views last month, my Pacemaker Bodybuilder, just because I made one long form episode, which got it's like 200 views right now. It's not much. And he only has like 560 something subs, or maybe 600 subs, whatever he's at. Mm-hmm. But he got 100,000 views from one video because I chopped it up into shorts, and it had those shorts match search intent with those snippet questions. So you have to understand that all these social media is casinos. These are content casinos.
Yeah.
Right. So if you do all and you can, but being a data scientist is a lot of fun, because it's like going into the casino, and 75 to 80% of the time you put $1 in the slot machine, you win. You win. Like, you might win something, but I look at, did I go past the subscriber base? Yes, I won. Yay. I won. It went past the subscriber base. It gained me more subscribers. So a lot of people go into the content casino and they don't know what they're doing. They're just people in a casino, and just put your content in and see what happens. The good news is about those content casinos is you could always delete it and re-upload it with a new title. And if it's a short, you should do that. But changing the title on your long form content will help too. Mm-hmm. Like if you took the time to go through every single video on your channel and just changed it to take out the person's name. Make sure there's no names in the title. Just put their name in the video description. All right, but just keep the title, like how to tie a tie, how to wash a car, how to clean a house, how to build a bridge.
Okay, so for example, I've got a bunch of testimonial videos about the principal coaching that I do. Mm-hmm. And like thinking about this, principal coaching is pretty specific. There's not going to be a lot of volume, but if somebody's looking for, how do I get support as a principal? How can I be a better principal? Those kinds of things. these should be the answers. And then that's a testimonial for what I'm doing. But my titles are terrible. Like, I know they are because it's something that the person talked about, not answering a question, like let's say isolation. So the way I should change that is to, how do I stop feeling lonely as a principal, or something like that. That would answer that question, and then the video does answer that question. But then it has to be that search intent, that I have to find what it is that people are searching for along that line. And so then the thing that I don't know is how much is enough volume for that.
You're killing yourself by niching down. The niche is a myth.
Ah, tell me more.
Yeah, that's a myth. Like, yeah, you might get a lot of content around Principal and Principal podcast, and that's good. And maybe one day it'll see that, and then because you got a lot of fuel there, and if there's some fire that goes across that fuel, it might light up. But when you niche down, so each guest, okay, let's assume they're all principals. So what? Does a principal not deal with many, many facets of society?
Yeah.
And so each person, like, if we just discounted the fact that you're a principal, I'm sure we could find something. Like, let's say you had a principal on, and he's a big hunter. And he talks about hunting mostly. Like, yeah, you can... You do 1 hour riff on principal stuff, and then he does an hour on hunting, and then an hour on... But go with the hunting. Label that. How to hunt a elk.
Yeah. So in this conversation, this is probably the content that you're going to use as the title, because the education stuff is not... People aren't really searching for what is the future of education.
Oh, well, no, I'll show you exactly what I do. I mean, I'll do it right now. So, pull up my laptop. And, well, I mean, you could stay there. I'll talk you through what I do. So, let's say I'm just going to go to the Google search bar, and I'm going to type in education, right? And I just type in education, and I scroll down, and look, you got 5 questions right off the bat that automatically meet search intent. What is the definition of education? That's probably... And what are the best definitions of education? What's the concept of education? What's the purpose? All right. And then each one of those, you should rename 5 of your things, those titles. Just copy and paste, and then just watch them and see if they change. And then I also go to Google Trends. And then in Google Trends, I compare words. Like, okay, so...
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to those search intent questions. So
Yeah.
let's say I have a ton of content that could qualify as what is the purpose of education. And I have a bunch of short form content that could qualify for that as well. And so just renaming those to answer that question, or just renaming those to that question would be a sufficient first step then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. And make sure not to name them like 10 of them the same question, because that's keyword cannibalization.
Right.
So that's not what you want to do. So if I look at, like, I'm comparing education versus teaching. This is Google Trends. This is free. Anybody can do this. Just Google Trends. You don't need to set up an account. So I can tell education is better than teaching. What if I compare teacher? If I compare teacher, teacher's way fucking better than teaching. So I'll have to think like education, teaching. So then I go to the Google search bar, education, and this is hasty, teaching. What is the meaning of teaching in education? That is a way more searched question. All right, and then it gives me more. Does education teach? What is the meaning of educating teacher? Of education teacher? What's the role of a teacher in education?
Yeah.
So now, Just by doing that little bit, I gave you got 10 titles.
Yeah.
That will match search intent way more. Big data.
Yeah.
Data-driven decisions is what everybody wants to be. Is big data. But yeah, that'll help you. That'll help you significantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's a good step and something that I can manage and do that isn't like...
It doesn't cost you nothing. And it took... You saw how quick it was.
Yeah.
How quick I did it. It's just a kind of imagination too. And it's sort of an art of thinking of like, well, what's a more used word? So if you got a big word in your head, like price fixing in a home, or right? Like I thought, like what's the big, whatever it is, take it to the 5th grade word.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a big word, take it to the 5th grade word. If you got someone who's like, he's a probate attorney, he's a lawyer.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Each person, and you're only limiting to yourself to the imagination. So like, yeah, even, yeah.
Okay. This is good.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Read my blogs, check it all out. You guys can learn a lot of stuff on social media and social media management and growing your brand and all that stuff. So, yeah. So I guess that goes back to begging the question, what is a leader to you?
To me, a leader is someone who inspires others to make changes in their life. And so in this conversation today, you're a leader by making it seem so simple for me to make this change to grow my audience and grow my impact. And by that definition, leaders can be subordinates, or they can have titles or not. Kids can be leaders. Old people can be leaders, like anybody can. Like, you don't have to have any specific qualifications, because a leader is someone who inspires change in others. And so the real question is, am I going to go now do those things that you've inspired me to do? Or am I going to just keep on doing what I've always done because it's easier? That's the real question. And what I think that really comes down to is, does that leader believe in you that you can do this and that you're capable? And do they make it so easy for you to achieve that you want to follow that and want to do it because you've been inspired to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. A leader inspires others. I remember that. That was something in the Marine Corps that they just hammered down. No one tells you a definitive definition of what a leader is, but I'll be damned if they don't make you take so many classes on leadership every year. Go to leadership schools, this leadership school, that leadership school. And then it wasn't until I was walking through the halls of the School of Infantry when I was a combat instructor and looking at all the leadership quotes that they got from random people.
Yeah.
And thinking about them, I thought the one that you said it, a leader is a person who inspires and others and eager to want. Yeah. So that's one of them. A leader, like Napoleon said, a leader is a dealer in hope. They're a dealer in that drug of hope.
Yeah.
If you inspire others to dream more, do more, and be more, you're a leader. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King. I think that was Martin Luther King's. But his was on the thing. So, yeah. Yeah, that's an important facet of, like, what is a leader? Because America certainly has a leadership crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think we do. And I think that part of it is leading yourself. And so 12 months ago, I weighed over 260 pounds. And
good for you for losing that weight, dude.
Yeah. And
yeah, I was going to say, fucking good job.
and I've lost that weight because I've taken charge myself and known that nobody else is going to do this for me. it's all on me. I'm the only one who can make that change. I'm the only one who really cares. I'm the only one who can do anything about it to really make it happen. But that's not to say that I haven't been inspired by other people and shown the way by a lot of other people. And that has been exceptionally powerful to tap into other people like this guy, Kyle Carnahan, who runs Superhuman Fathers that I'm a part of. He has really shown me some things that I just didn't think were possible. Like looking 12 months ago, I was like, I could probably lose the weight and who knows how long it'll take. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what the right thing to do was, and I didn't know where to start. And having those little things, somebody else inspiring me and helping me see that, that's what made it possible. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, 65 pounds already? Like,
that's impressive. Keep going. That's a human.
That it is crazy. It's unreal. Yeah. But like it is possible. And I really do chalk it up to having someone inspire me to change and believing that I can do it. And I'm at a bit of a plateau right now. And I know that my lack of knowledge, lack of skills, lack of discipline is what's preventing me from going to the next level. But I'll get there eventually. I just need to figure out how to get myself to that next level. And when I do, then I'll continue dropping weight. And, you know, I think I'll probably lose another 40 or so pounds, get to 100 total. I think that's definitely possible. And I won't be too skinny or sickly or anything like that. I think it'll be healthy weight loss, which it has been so far.
Damn. So tell me, well, first off, have you thought about jiu-jitsu?
I have actually. A lot of the guys in this group do that.
You should do jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And take your kids to it too. It's the best freaking thing, man.
That's what amazing. I was thinking, is doing it with my son, because I think that would be a good bonding thing for us. And
yeah,
it would be, but I don't know anything about it. So
yeah, it's great.
Okay.
You should do it. So the beautiful thing about at least the gym where I go to, Newborn, which is off Monroe Street, even though I live here in the Valley.
Okay.
I think they're the cheapest in town. I mean, like for price wise, I'm not saying they're cheap. They're a good gym. That's why I go. And it's a great community too. I think that jiu-jitsu is that network. It's that higher network. It's that BNI group that people wish they had.
BNI?
Yeah. So there's these groups around here. They're BNI, Business International groups, where these guys pay money and they get together to just pay money to get together.
Yeah.
Literally. And, but yeah, you can do that with jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu is great because you lose a lot of weight. You get into great shape. You get a tremendous, inspiration and self-confidence in yourself to be able to just get your ass beat. Because I mostly just get beat the fuck up. Yeah. But no, it's great for your kids too. And at first is the kids class. Well, your son's probably training with the adults. I mean, once they're like 15, they start training with the adults.
Okay. He's 13. He's pretty close, but he's big. So.
Yeah. First they have the kids, and then after the kids class, then they have the adults class. So after the kids are done, they go and they hang out in the mat room. They're already worn out. And then the adults roll. And there's no striking, so there's no risk of brain damage. It's just a great network. It's a lot of fun. You'll understand what it's like and people say jiu-jitsu is like life. I'm like, yeah, I guess it is, because there's time where you're just getting smashed and crushed and crushed and crushed by somebody, and you're in this shitty position, and you know it's shitty. But if you just take your time and you just slowly work your way out, you can get out of that position. And it helps you with a lot of problem solving. The guy was on the podcast yesterday. He's like, a lot of people say they need jiu-jitsu as a sport in schools because they already got wrestling.
Yeah.
And yeah, wrestling's cool and all. And I was a wrestler, and wrestling's got great practical application. But jiu-jitsu, you don't really truly understand the power of it. And Jocko Willink said, like, yeah, it's a superpower. If there's one thing that's a superpower, it's jiu-jitsu. I'm like, yeah, you don't get it until you get it and you start to learn it and you know it. Jiu-jitsu is a language of touch. I didn't learn this till it took me a while to learn that. Like, kind of like dancing. Like, if somebody can outdance you, they're very good because they know the angles of movement and whatnot. But jiu-jitsu, there's no dancing.
Right.
It's not even like that. You're not running or anything. You're just on the ground grappling. But that flow, the movement, the kata, you start to learn. And you really start to appreciate it when you go in and you're getting choked out by 115-pound women.
Yeah.
Like, size doesn't matter. That's true. Like, if some woman who knows knows a lot of jiu-jitsu, is a good practitioner, she's going to destroy any man off the street. It's like having a gun. It's like every day you go and you train jiu-jitsu, you're sharpening that sword. And you start to experiment what martial arts work and what don't, and what you could pull off with wrestling you're not going to pull off with jiu-jitsu. And you start to realize, like, yeah, all that Wing Chun shit, that Krav Maga crap, it's out the fucking door. Like, once you're on the ground, once you get the person on the ground, you own them. And it's so true. When you know jiu-jitsu, you become a shark. You transform. It's a transformative experience. You transform into a shark. And the ground is your ocean. And most people don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
That's the cold, hard reality.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how big somebody is. I could see someone who's this massive jack guy working out at the gym, regular gym. And I think, I could tap that motherfucker. And that's the reality. It's like going and learn. It's a martial art. Is a true military art that is superior to what a lot of people know and what they don't know.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So a lot of the guys in this group, Superhuman Fathers, I don't know if a lot, but enough that I've noticed it and thought maybe I should look into that. I've never done any kind of grappling or wrestling, or all that I've done is football. That's the closest I've gotten to any of that combat stuff. And so, like, that's just not in my nature. But that sounds certainly more interesting to me, and something that I could get behind, especially if I could do it with my son too. I think that'd be really cool.
Well, you can always try it a few times for free before they start pestering you for a membership. But wherever you live, there's probably a jiu-jitsu gym nearby. There's at least 13 of them now in Spokane. So at least,
really?
And it's jiu-jitsu is the new golf.
Okay.
I'm not joking. It is the higher network. I tell people this all the time. It's the higher network.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I roll with people from all different walks of life. I'll roll with a couple, like this one guy, I got some legal advice from him because he was a probate attorney. I'm like, hey man, blah, 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 blah. He gave me some advice that I didn't think much of it at the time, but I'm like, shit, that actually paid off really well. So it's nice knowing that I have access to people of different professions that all come together just for the love of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good.
And physical fitness, and you will get very in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd love it. Just show up. Just take the commitment one day. Go on a no-gi day. Okay, so there's gi and no-gi, right? I'm a no-gi guy just because I prefer the no-gi. But so if you go on a no-gi day, that means you don't have to. You just show up shorts and t-shirt. And whatever gym you choose to go to, just I think you should probably call beforehand and be like, hey, I want to go and train today. And they'll be like, okay, sign the waiver.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And then once you sign the waiver and you train a few days, or, you can try it out, you and your kid. And then if you like it, and be like, yeah, I want to do it or not. But try it out. Definitely give it a try.
All right. That's good.
If you want to go with me, I'll take you to the gym.
Okay.
If you want that introduction, but yeah, I first got my boys into it. My first taste of jiu-jitsu was through the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And so, in the Marines, I was a good wrestler, but I was just getting destroyed by all these jiu-jitsu guys. But the Marine Corps martial arts program is like a little jiu-jitsu light thing. So you get an intro to it. But I knew it was powerful. So I started having my boys go into it first. So I was paying for them for years before I even started training.
Gotcha.
And then I started training. So
Cool. All right. I've been thinking about it. It's funny that came up today because it's been there in the back of my mind, and I just wanted to talk to somebody who did it and get an idea of what it was. And I think you did a good introduction.
Oh, dude, it's so worth it to me that I could go. You can train. Where I go, I could train twice a day, 6 days a week, closed on Sunday. I only go once a week and I pay the $125 a month and only go once a week across the damn town to that gym because I understand the importance of that network.
Yeah. Yeah. The network is huge. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's something to consider if you want to do that.
Good. Speaking of network, I gotta.
Okay, yeah. So this is basically 2 hours anyway. So anyway, tell the world book recommendations. Okay. And where can people find you?
Okay. Book recommendations. So my current book recommendation is Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine, and it is about the saboteurs that attack us and destroy us from inside. And tapping into the sage power that we all have. Really good stuff. I do my coaching based on that work, and it's powerful. I can do a 30-minute session with someone, and they're like, that was incredible. I'm ready to take action, and it's inspiring. So definitely a good book. And then reaching out to me at Jethro Jones on all the socials and jethrojones.com. And then my phone number is even 8017-JETHRO. So you can call me.
Badass.
There we go. Yeah.
8017-JETHRO.
That's right.
All right, everybody. You heard it. It was awesome. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, smash that bell for more updates. Bye.